Welcome back. It was this newspaper report in the Indian Express which said, and I'm reading this, Bhushans get 2 prime-time farmhouse plots from Mayawati government for a song. And if I may just repeat what is written in the first line of this debate, before I go into the debate, let me first welcome my participants tonight. After a long time coming back on the news are Vinod Mehta, welcome. Swapan Das Gupta, great to have you with us tonight. Meenakshi Lekhi, thank you very much for coming. You have strong views on the Bhushans. Welcome you on the panel. Mahesh Jetmalani, welcome. We'll have a robust debate, but before that I want to read out the first part of this article. It said, the political class may be evil and corrupt, but that's whom Shanti Bhushan and his son Jayant Bhushan turn to when they want a farmhouse each for a song. And this whole article goes on and talks about how 10,000 square meters of a farmland plot has been given away in a totally arbitrary way. In case you haven't followed the story, here's a one-line summary. An arbitrary, questionable disbursement of massive amounts of land that has tremendous commercial value in a place like Noida, just on the outskirts of New Delhi, given away for an absolutely unbelievable discount under questionable circumstances to Shanti Bhushan and his son Jayant Bhushan. These are the leading lights of the India Against Corruption movement. They say it's not our fault. We have many questions over that issue. Let me first ask you, Vinod Mehta, what do you think now this should be done in this story? Should the Bhushans, given all this that has emerged, step down or at least explain their stand publicly?
Well, Arnab, what is happening at the moment is a very sad commentary on Indian democracy. You see, as soon as the CG controversy lost steam, it was clearly a fake. We had this land scam has now appeared. Now there is still some clarity to be obtained over there, which will be obtained in 24 hours or 48 hours. But I assure you, if the land scam does not stick, the next day another scam will come up somewhere. So what you're seeing is an attempt, a pretty successful attempt, I think, to destroy the moral authority of the committee. And the moral authority of the committee came from its support of the people. And the end effort is to ensure that this drafting committee has no power and a toothless Lokpal bill is produced. So I'm very sad to say, I'm not defending the Bhushans. I mean, this land thing, if they should step down, if it is proved they've taken this land, but at the moment there is not enough clarity in this. But I ask you to also consider, please, the timing of all these things. As soon as the controversy CD thing, this comes up. So I think there is a clear purpose behind this campaign. And if it is proved that the Bhushans have done something wrong in the case of the land, I hold no defense for them. They should step down. But we should see the other design also, and we can't ignore that design.
Well, I must point out, I mean, no questions about the timing, Vinod Mehta. The timing is suspect, it is deliberate, it is aimed at anonymously trying to destroy the whole movement against corruption, at least take away its principal legal players. But they have admitted they have taken the land. Swapan Das Gupta. They have said we were surprised when we got the allotment letters. We knew there is no transparency, but why should we challenge it? Is that an explanation you'll buy?
Well, Arnab, I would tend to agree with Vinod Mehta up to a point. I think there's no doubt that the Congress party in particular doesn't have its full-fledged political commitment to this Lokpal bill or Jan Lokpal bill, call it whatever you want to. And therefore they are trying to establish a certain moral equivalence between the political class, or should I say moral disrepute between the political class as well as those so-called civil society activists. And by muddying the waters, they seem to have partially succeeded. Even if the CD turned out to be a complete hoax of the St. Kitts dimension, there are some questions which come about. And the most relevant question which your channel has raised is the issue as if such a transaction had taken place involving, say, a judge or a senior bureaucrat, what would be the conclusions? We would have treated it with a degree of utmost suspicion. despite the fact that the Bhushans probably have some answers to some of those questions. But the sheer circumstances under which the whole transactions were affected, causes very questions to ask. However, the question which is to be there is, are we establishing the principle of let him who has not sinned cast the first stone? Is this going to be the basis on which an entire law which covers governmental corruption going to be decided? Now, the Bhushans will probably have an answer or not have an answer. They may step down or they may not step down. I don't think that any longer is the relevant point. The point is also to ensure that the larger fight against corruption, the spontaneous outburst in which we saw during Anna Hazare's fast, is not allowed to be dissipated, because we saw an example of ordinary citizens' angers, and I think that anger is far more important than the misdeeds if any, of the Bhushans. And I think the government cannot at any circumstances be allowed to get away with trying to inject a mood of cynicism into this whole thing.
Well, there can
therefore,
be.
what needs to be done is there. Therefore, if to destroy that cynicism, it means the Bhushans should step down, so be it.
Well, tonight they are being very rigid. They are refusing to step down. Meenakshi Lekhi was among those cynics. Mr. Jethmalani, coming to you right now. I just want a contrary voice. I remember on the day when this whole Lokpal movement was successful, or appeared to have been successful, Meenakshi Lekhi was totally cynical, especially about the Bhushans. Hence, I want your perspective on this tonight. I want your perspective on this entire controversy tonight, the CD that emerged, this whole business of this land allotment that has emerged now. Meenakshi Lekhi, what do you make of it? Where is the debate going?
Arnab, the first clarification is I was not disillusioned by Bhushan, but I was disillusioned by Sonia Gandhi's stance. Number one, I was cynical about the whole movement in the sense that your channel was talking about one scam after the other scam, and there was a whole lot of anger built up amongst public about corruption issues. Now, with this particular moment being captured by a movement, actually took away the issue from corruption, number one. Number two, Lokpal bill became the primary instigation point. Now it is, the focus is on Bhushans. I was not talking about Bhushans, but I was talking about corruption per se, and I was talking about institutionalization which Congress regime has done to the issue of corruption. Number two, the point I was making is that if we want to correct the corruption aspect in the system, then we need to set up strong institutions, and only those institutional mechanisms can correct those steps. If one Hassan Ali is made to speak as to from where he has procured this money and who are the people responsible to fund this gentleman, then I think one case or Boffer's money was to be brought back to this country will solve the issue of corruption. So you need to basically make examples out of people. You need to give face to the issue of corruption.
Meenakshi,
yes.
tonight the raging controversy is over the Bhushans. What in your view should they do? Should they hang on? Do you feel if they go, the entire movement will lose a crucial edifice?
No, I think you see the movement, first of all, Lokpal bill itself in the present state is not, in my opinion, not the correct method of dealing in a democratic setup. Number two, the corruption cannot be controlled by Lokpal bill alone. You need specific institutions like a very, very strong CEC. You need
what about the Bhushans? CEC. Why are you avoiding taking a position on the Bhushans?
You see, my sole point is Bhushans are just one small incident, and the timing itself is questionable. So let's not question one particular person. When we are talking of corruption, there are larger issues, and largest issue being Gandhi family. Why are we shying away from talking about them?
Well, Mahesh Jethmalani, are the Bhushans, is this entire issue a small issue? Aren't there many forces, anonymous forces involved and behind this entire matter? Is this a small episode in your view?
Well, no, the episode assumes great significance because I think here is a government that is not seriously interested at all in the enactment of the Lokpal bill, particularly in the form that civil society has presented it. There is no doubt that the government is behind the smear campaign against the Bhushans, and the Bhushans are required. Look, what do we have against the Bhushans today? We have a tape which is probably doctored, a CD which is probably doctored. At least 2 independent agencies have said so. I know that there's been that there is the argument that the Bhushans have submitted it to those organizations, but they are reputable organizations, and nobody till today has come with counter evidence to suggest that the report of tampering, splicing in 3 different places is untrue. Right? Then you have an evasion of stamp duty. Well, that matter is sub judice, and it will be decided. The Bhushans will undoubtedly defend it, and nobody can say whether they undervalued and did not pay the right amount of stamp duty right now. The matter is sub judice. The appropriate authority will decide that.
There is a notice. They have paid about 0.3% of the stamp duty. I'm just responding to you on fact.
But are we? Yes. But are we going to judge this? All right. So
no,
it raises a few eyebrows.
But value.
Yes. So let the stamp duty authority, the state UP state government authorities that have raised this issue, and then there's a question of timing also. There's a question of timing. So all right, there are a few errors of judgment, particularly, I mean, the Indian Express story today. Yes, there's a few errors of judgment, but nobody can say it's a corrupt deal. I mean, if somebody is getting a bonanza without corruption, right, he applies.
If it had been a Congress leader,
yes.
If it had been a Congress leader, would you have said, oh, it's a error of judgment, if it had been a cabinet minister who you had in these kind of circumstances on stamp duty evasion?
No, that's because of my own bias. No, frankly, no, because I have a particular bias towards Congress leaders and their dealings. So no, I wouldn't. So but I know the Bhushans to be eminently honorable people, and I would give them the benefit of doubt. And I certainly would in this case.
No, so the argument is, I'm hearing from all the eminent panelists, Vinod Mehta, I'm hearing the argument, don't question the specifics. Forget the specifics. Don't ask whether the land allotment was arbitrary, questionable. Look at the larger issue. Don't get into the issue of conflict of interest.
Arnab, can I intervene?
No, is that the... Yeah, okay, Meenakshi, you want to go first? Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say, I am not saying that you don't question. You are free to question, because that is what free media is all about, and people answerable have to make those answers available. I probably may not be the right person to answer on anybody's behalf. That's my stance.
No, my question to Vinod Mehta is, are we not supposed to ask those specifics, Mr. Mehta? We ask those specifics of politicians all the time.
Arnab, I am not giving a clean chit to the Bhushans. I am simply saying that let there be some clarity, and if it is necessary, the Bhushans must stand down. But please remember, if the Bhushans stand down, you have killed this committee. You will ensure that this committee that is negotiating with the government for a strong Lokpal bill will be dead as a dodo.
Are you saying there's no other lawyer?
And that is the purpose of the whole exercise.
Are you saying that?
And that is the purpose of this.
No, are you?
The purpose of this whole exercise is to kill this committee.
Why?
Or to make it so feeble. To make it so feeble that its negotiating power is zilch.
No, I'm trying to understand.
That is the bigger game plan, and I think I think we should be looking at the bigger game plan, the bigger conspiracy, and in this other conspiracy, if they have done something wrong, they should be punished. So, but remember what will happen if they step down right now, which everybody wants. I find it very interesting that the whole political class is saying, no, whatever happens, let them step down. Let them step down. Arey Baba, wait to karo. Let's get some clarity in the situation. You said let them step down when there is a doctored CD. Well, let's wait for some clarity, and then finally they will step down, and the movement will be dead.
So that's the point. But I'm trying to understand this. Completely, this is all insidious. Swapan Das Gupta, you know how many politicians are having a great time and giving off-record stories and enjoying this attempt at puncturing this whole movement. But when people rallied, Mr. Das Gupta, people rallied around Anna Hazare. Shanti Bhushan appeared after this whole battle had been fought. People didn't rally around Shanti Bhushan. Why is everybody saying the only people The only father and son, the only lawyers, the only people with great probity are Shanti Bhushan and Prashant Bhushan.
I mean, I'm not one of those.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those who say that. Which is why I said what is very important is that the groundswell against corruption must not be allowed to be dissipated into complete cynicism, which is what the real objective of the ruling party at this precise moment is. You see, land has been a potential minefield. What this seeks to establish so far is that the Bhushans are prone to as much greed as anyone else.
Then how can they speak for the India Against Corruption movement?
Sit in judgment over politics.
No, but how can they speak for...
That is really the...
No, if they are prone to that level of greed.
So that's why I'm saying the important issue is not the Bhushans. Whether they come or they go, whether they remain in the committee or whether they
Mr. Dasgupta,
resign from the committee is not very important.
But Mr. Dasgupta,
what is important is to preserve the momentum.
I understand, but
to preserve the momentum.
That is what is happening.
Oh no, one second. Vineet Narayan is also joining the panel tonight. I have one strong voice who's completely against the Bhushans tonight. Mr. Jethmalani, I'm going to come to you. Many people are asking, Vineet Narayan, thanks for coming in. Why are some people from civil society who, as Swapan Dasgupta said, can be questioned whether they are prone to the same greed? Why should they be put on a pedestal? Vineet Narayan, what's your argument tonight on where this story stands, this whole raging controversy over what the Bhushans should do? We have many people on the news hour tonight who believe that the issue is greater and the Bhushans should stay. Where do you stand, Mr. Narayan?
I'm not saying they should stay.
Arnab, we are totally with Anna Hazare ji. We are totally with this cause of Jan Lokpal Bill. And I think I'm so happy that after decades, the youth of the nation has woken up to this cause. We must save Anna Hazare from the ulterior motives and designs of vested interests who have hijacked this whole movement. And this is not the first time they have done. They have been doing in the past. I burnt my fingers. That's why I'm saying I'm talking with conviction. They should step down. There are many jurists in the country who can fill that vacancy.
No, but give a factual position. I know that you have personal issues with Prashant Bhushan, but give a factual reason. You are saying they step down. The matter is sub judice. They are saying it is not a discretionary allotment. They are saying
the Caesar's wife should be above suspicion. In 2G spectrum case, they make allegation that the licensees have taken undue benefit without going through the proper tendering process. Here in this allotment of land, they follow the same pattern, get the benefit. So I mean, you have double standards in your life and you want to draft a bill where you want to make politicians, bureaucrats accountable without you yourself being accountable.
No, look at the larger issue.
You are accountable.
No, look at the larger issue. Look at the larger issue, Vineet Narayan. This country, this country needs an effective Lokpal bill. And there are a group of crusaders who are saying, if we want a bill, then we need these two men on the committee. Otherwise, you have four lawyers sitting on the other side. Kapil Sibal, Mr. Chidambaram, Veerappa Moily and Salman Khurshid. You cannot have a discussion unless there is some serious legal representation on your side. Don't you understand the practical issue that's being raised?
We all want this bill to be passed. We want to stand with this cause. But why we have to insist on these two lawyers whose credibility is being questioned by so many people?
But isn't it obvious to you? Isn't it obvious to you, Mr. Narayan, who's behind? Isn't it obvious to you? Let me ask you, who is behind this attempt at hitting out their credibility? Do the authors of this anonymous campaign not matter to you?
I can't hear you, Arnab.
Isn't it obvious to you? Before I get a response, Vineet Narayan, I am asking you this. Isn't it obvious to you? Don't you know who is behind this smear campaign, these stories that are doing the rounds? Why is all this material coming out now? Land allotments happened later. Stamp duty evasion must have happened in the past. Why is it coming now, days after the appointment of this committee?
Arnab, I am not concerned about why the material is coming now. I have been raising my voice for long time. Even in recent past, So, I mean, if these people are not willing to listen and they go ahead in an arbitrary manner and they take whole country for a ride and they think they are the only custodian, I mean, this is not done. No. This is not done in a democracy. Was their selection made in a democratic manner? What was the hurry? It could have been done in 24 hours by inviting various suggestions. Why they hijacked the whole thing?
No, well, they were there leading the movement. Let me get in Mahesh Jetpalani here. You know where this debate is now progressing.
That doesn't mean...
1 minute. Mahesh Jetpalani, you're hearing that side of the argument. Now, one thing we need to do is end this whole issue. We do believe here at times now the issue of fighting against corruption is far bigger. Hence, how do we handle this cynicism now if they don't go?
Well, you know, Arnav, we have to explain clearly to any doubting Thomases that the issue here is one of bringing public servants to account. The Bhushans are there in a committee which is supposed to finalize a Lokpal bill which deals with politicians, bureaucrats and maybe judges, all public servants. If you feel that private citizens like the Bhushans are guilty of any misdemeanor, prosecute them. Your timing is highly suspect. You should have taken action at the appropriate time. The fact that it comes now itself is a pointer to A, your motives, and B, to the weight of your charges against them. The Bhushans, like every private citizen who faces similar revenue charges, will have their day before the appropriate revenue authority, and that's where it must lie. But their expertise is required. The fact that they do this doesn't detract from their expertise which they will bring in the drafting of the bill. I can think of very few people who can replace them in the matter of expertise. Yes, let's say there's a cloud over their head today. At worst, that's the case against them. But that cloud can only be dissipated before an appropriate authority. This should not be brought in the public domain. And the fact that it's being dragged in the public domain is only to satisfy prudent interest and to undermine their role as experts on that committee.
Will this end? Vinod Mehta said it won't end. More dirt will be raised. Swapan Dasgupta also seems to think it won't.
Can I disagree with what Mahesh has said?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Dasgupta.
I would also like to disagree.
Yeah, I would disagree with Mahesh. You see, I think what is very important is not merely the question of their competence, but also the credibility of every single individual, including the government ministers, who are on that committee, if there's going to be a meaningful bill. Now, and I don't mean that immediately we must take a knee-jerk reaction to this, but if in 24 hours or 48 hours, we can conclusively assert that there was something ethically improper. I don't suggest there has been a corrupt practice. I don't think the Bhushans have been guilty of a corrupt practice here. I think what is questioned is the ethical impropriety of accepting that sort of a dubious allotment. If that, they have failed to provide any conclusive, convincing answers to that. I think it's only in the fairness of things that in the larger interest, they should step down. I refuse to believe that there are any other lawyers.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be really a lawyer-dominated argument.
Mr. Vinod Mehta is responding to you, Mr. Dasgupta. Go on. Yes, Mr. Mehta.
Can I come in?
Go on, Mr. Mehta.
Arnab, what I am saying is the Bhushans are not indispensable to this committee. But if at this time, this is very crucial, if at this time they are forced to stand down or they stand down, the moral authority of the committee, the rest of the 3 members will be greatly undermined. Make no mistake about that. And this is what those people who are asking for them to stand down want. So that its bargaining power, its negotiating power to get a strong Lokpal bill is completely zero. That is the biggest thing, is first undermine the Bhushans, then undermine the committee. Bhushans are stage 1 of the game.
Okay, yes.
But Vinod, if they fail to provide convincing answers, I'm not suggesting that they will fail.
Oh, I think
but
they should.
If they can't provide convincing answers, don't you think they will be damaged goods?
No, I think they are I think that even if they don't stand down, they are damaged goods already. I think whoever is behind this campaign should be congratulated. They have managed to stick some mud on the Bhushans, and I think already whatever happens, the committee's authority, the committee's bargaining power, the committee's strength has been greatly eroded. So whoever is behind masterminding this campaign, my hat's off to him. He's done a very good job.
Is possible.
Well, I'm not sure if
circumstances, don't you think there should be some damage limitation?
Well, if these two people stand down, then you will say, what is the credibility of the other three people?
No, but you know, I want to know, I want to know, where is this question? Who is bringing out this whole story? Where is the question of credibility coming? Times Now has put out, Mr. Mehta, Times Now has been running for the last 4 years. No, for the 4 years, Mr. Mehta.
Who is bringing this out? You know, everybody knows who's bringing this out.
Yeah, but
so I think that is
may I make a point?
One of us has evidence. We all know.
A small point. For 4 years now, we have been running a tape in which during a narco-analysis test, a man called Abdul Karim Telgi mentions the name of a cabinet minister, a sitting cabinet minister, and a sitting state minister. Now, so far, today, it's so ironical that while we are debating all this, the judge in the Telgi case again got postponed. And 1 week back, even Abdul Karim Telgi, who is suffering from a dreadful disease, wrote to the judge saying, "My lord, I am petrified that you will be transferred once again." So, we will never know the truth in that case. The minister is still doing his job. So, this cloak and dagger politics, Mr. Narayan, you must understand, must itself be questioned. Because who are the authors of this entire movement? What have they done in the Telgi case to rush that case? It was such a big scam 4 years back. What about the politicians whose names appeared in the Telgi case, Mr. Narayan? Where is the self-righteous outrage? Where is the anger? Where is this whole sentiment? Let's act now, let's remove them. They are still holding on to their chair, Mr. Narayan. That's the limited point I'd like to make to you. You know, so before we talk about the Bhushans, that point must be considered. Yes. Yes, Mr. Narayan.
What is it? I can't hear. There's an audio problem here.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Narayan.
What is the question?
Yes, my question to you is, why don't we speak about the Telgi case? Why don't we speak about the multiple cases in which discretionary allotments are made to politicians? Don't they hold on to their chair? Don't they say wait for the court verdict?
Arnab, set up an inquiry committee and go through my writings. That's all I can do. I don't run a TV channel. I don't own a newspaper. I started Independent Television 89. I don't have a TV channel. So you have to see what I write and what I speak. Okay. I don't have an organized forum where I can make noise. Now, because the anti-corruption issue has become a national issue, I am very happy that so many people join hands, and I think this must succeed. This is the right time. We should all join hands without our personal differences. But people of integrity should be there. People should not be there who have betrayed such causes in the past. Right. What is the guarantee they will not betray in future?
So, Meenakshi, quickly, I wanted to get you in. I know you've been wanting to come into the debate. What should we be looking at?
See, one, again, let's not deflect from the issue of corruption. Let's not make it a Lokpal bill as the moot point to end all the corruption issues. Number 3, deflection to Bhushans. Whether Bhushans stay or not, I don't agree with Mahesh that only Bhushans can be the suitable representatives. There are very many representatives. That is not the issue, but for that, Bhushans have to take a call to stay on or to not to stay on, and media has to question to whatever extent is available to them. So far as negotiation, repeatedly I heard the word negotiation. There is no negotiation when it is an issue of bringing a bill. A bill could be brought out even as a private member bill, and why has that step not been taken in this case? The whole movement of anti-corruption being hijacked by a coterie of people is what I was questioning from day one, and that is precisely my point, that why, if we are talking about negotiations, whether a few people will hijack the movement and not negotiate with the government itself becomes the moot point. Now we have to go back to reducing corruption and talk about black money, etc., which is stashed away in outside the country, and keep the focus on those issues. And let's not deflect to other issues.
I think we are coming to one critical word. Let's not deflect. Yes, Mr. Dasgupta, I can see you want to add on.
No, but Arnab, I just want to make things. Let us be aware.
Yes.
Let us be aware of the hurdles, the obstacles, and the subterfuge.
Oh yes.
Which any anti-corruption movement will confront in the face of a very intransigent and an extremely cynical government.
A good point made there.
Arnab,
This government itself is going to hijack.
Okay, Mr. Jethmalani.
Arnab, just one point.
By bringing a bill, they will become the mastermind behind anti-corruption, which is what should not be allowed.
Mahesh.
Nobody says that the Bhushans are indispensable on this committee. Yes, they can be replaced. But the fact of the matter is that they have largely been responsible for the drafting of the bill in its present form. They've been associated with it. They have the experience, and it's an eminently good bill.
Why didn't they move it as a private member bill?
Because they're not members of parliament. Anyway, now
they don't have to be.
You
can move it through someone else.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's again technicality.
Through someone else. Private members' bills never get.
Mr.
Private
Mehta,
members' bills never get passed.
Yes.
Lekhi, you should know that.
No, you lobby for it.
Okay.
Let me just finish. Let me. I was interrupted. Let me finish.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that let me assure you.
Yes.
You let anybody on this panel tonight name anybody else who can substitute for the Bhushans.
Okay.
And I guarantee you that the government will dig dirt and throw mud, unjustified though it may be, at whoever sits on that panel. Anybody who comes on that committee is going to face an unenviable task, and this is meant to dissuade people from getting on that committee in place of the Bhushans. I say Bhushans, stick there. I support you.
Okay, point taken. Bhushans, stick there. Despite the report, says Mahesh Jethmalani passionately. Last word to Vinod Mehta tonight.
Now, what is happening right now is a clear indication of the forces against anti-corruption. This shows to what extent they will go to derail an anti-corruption bill, any movement that sets out to fight anti-corruption. This is frightening because the level to which they would stoop is incredible. So you please, this at least educates us. Yes. What we are up against when we come to fight corruption. These are the forces, and this is the level to which they will stoop.
Well, it's such an enlightening discussion. I want to say one thing at the end. Tonight, none of those people who are both, so gleeful, passing so much news, take so many positions off record and on record on the Bhushans, are talking about a man called Iqbal Singh. One link to Hassan Ali on the other side, his sons apply for a trust on the other. The Enforcement Directorate will interrogate him on Tuesday, and he has the wonderful distinction of being the first constitutional person holding a post to go through such interrogation. Why is nobody talking about Iqbal Singh? That's the story we put out tonight. Gentlemen and Meenakshi, thank you very much for joining me. That debate on Iqbal Singh, who is literally hanging on for dear life.